Good evening and welcome to the San Marcos CISD Meet the Candidates Forum. I'm Linda Calvert, President of the Hays County League of Women Voters. Allow me to tell you about the League of Women Voters. As a grassroots civic organization with 100 years that is, of nonpartisan political experience, we promote informed and active participation in government, work to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influence public policy through education and advocacy. Membership in the League is open to people 16 and older, regardless of gender identification, race, ethnicity, or any other characteristic or identifier which would affect our intention of being diverse, equitable, and inclusive. During this year's legislative session, important issues for the League include redistricting based on the census, as well as voting rights and election law. We will have a happy hour on Thursday, April 15th, generally at 5:30, starts at 5:30, to discuss legislative bills and actions on voting rights. Thursday, April 29th, the League's Day of Action, we will kick off a new redistricting initiative. Please go to your website. Excuse me. Please go to our website at the LWV Hays County and also to the Texas League's website for additional information and to take action on current legislation. I would like to thank our tech coordinator, Lori O'Donnell, who's hidden over there behind the LWV Hays County box, and the timer, Larry Calvert, for their help tonight, and to introduce the Dripping Springs League member, Marilyn Menard, who will be our moderator for tonight's event.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. There are 6 candidates running for 2 at-large positions on the San Marcos School Board of Trustees. All have received and agreed to the following rules and procedures. Only candidates who appear on the ballot are invited to speak and participate in the forum. There is no opportunity for rebuttal or to make comments on fellow candidates' positions. With the exception of news media reporting this event, video recordings may only be broadcast in their entirety and unedited and with the express consent of the League of Women Voters of Hays County. No part of a recording of the forum may be used for campaign purposes. A recording of this event will be available, though, on the Hays County League website. No campaign literature or signs may be displayed. Candidates will introduce themselves in an opening statement and speak for no more than 2 minutes. Remarks can be prepared in advance. Candidates will speak in ballot order for the first part of the event. In the second portion of the event, candidates will address current issues. The topics were chosen by the League of Women Voters with input from the community and were sent to the candidates in advance. Candidates will be called on in random order and have 2 minutes to respond to each topic. A timekeeper will hold up a card to indicate when there are 15 seconds remaining in the allotted time period. When time has elapsed, a timekeeper will hold up a stop card. The candidate will then conclude his or her sentence. At this time, I would like to introduce the candidates for the San Marcos CISD Board of Trustees: Andy Fay, Mary Salmi, Ann Halsey, Nicholas Castilla, and Sylvia Muzzy. The sixth candidate, Roger Davis, unfortunately had to cancel a short while ago due to family concerns, but he wishes you all good luck. We will now have 2 minutes to make an opening statement, and we will begin with Andrew Fay.
Thank you, Marilyn. I appreciate you guys giving us all an opportunity to speak. I know a position like this isn't really very well publicized. My name is Andrew Fay. I've been in San Marcos 10 years now. Got 3 small kids in the public school. I'm a product of the public school. So I've got a lot of skin in the game, so to speak. My kids are in the pre-K, 1st grade and 3rd grade. Big proponents of the dual language program. We've been in it as long as we've been able to, and have had extremely good results. I'm running for this position basically as a way to give back to the community that has provided such good education and opportunities for my kids. And I want to make sure that continues on that path. I have a degree from Texas A&M University in engineering. I'm actually technically a pilot. I've been a pilot since 2000, I guess. I currently fly for Southwest Airlines, but I've been on a leave of absence and been essentially the primary caretaker of my kids. It's somewhat unconventional, but it's where I am. So I've been doing the best I can. I would guess I'm doing okay. And so that's my interest here is mainly to make sure that my kids have the best opportunities in education, and by default, everyone else's kids do too.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker will be Mary.
Hi, thank you to the League of Women Voters and for this opportunity and for all that you do for San Marcos and nationwide. My name is Mary Salmi. I also have 3 kids that are San Marcos ISD students. We've been in San Marcos for about 10 years as well. I have a graduating senior and 2 kids in middle school. I've been involved in their education since we moved here. I've been on PTO and in boosters, band and otherwise, and I served on the SHAC for 2 years, the Student Health Advisory Committee. My education is also in Texas public schools. I grew up in the Houston area, and I have a Bachelor's of Science from the University of Texas at Austin, and I also have a PhD from the University of Texas at Austin. And I currently work in San Antonio for a subsidiary of the South Texas Blood and Tissue Center. I'm in the field of regenerative medicine. And so my interest in running for school board is largely based in my feelings about the positive impact that the school has had on my kids' family, and my desire to also give back and to continue the positive things that have been going on in San Marcos, and use my expertise in science and technology to help the school board go in a direction that meets the needs of all of our students.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Next we have Ann Halsey.
Thanks, everybody. I do have a prepared statement, so I apologize. I'm going to read off my screen. Thanks very much to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. It's been my great honor to serve all of the students of San Marcos CISD as an at-large trustee, and I'm proud of the improvements we have made in the district over the past 6 years. I have served with integrity and in transparency, and I'm seeking re-election in order to build on the advances we have made, especially in student outcomes and success. I'm the mother of 3 SMCISD students. I'm actively engaged in the schools and the community, and I bring a common sense voice of care and experience to the board. In addition to my service on the board, I served as chair of the Commission on Children and Youth for 2 years, wherein I co-founded the SMTX Mental Health Coalition. I also serve on the Early Childhood Coalition and on the San Marcos Education Foundation. With my collaborative leadership over the past few years, the district has reduced property taxes by more than 15 cents per dollar, safely reopened our schools during the pandemic, decreased class sizes, significantly increased pay and benefits for all employees, paid down our debt early, and increased the general fund balance. We have also improved mental health services, started new fine arts and career tech programs, provided high quality full-day preschool, built state-of-the-art classrooms and athletic facilities, and started a range of new academic programs, including dual language and early college high school. I understand that it takes all of us working together to ensure our community schools are strong and meeting the needs of all of our children and families. I'm proud to have the trust of parents and the encouragement of teachers and local small business owners, and I respectfully ask for your vote on May 1st.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Nicholas Castilla.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicholas Costilla. I was born and raised here in San Marcos. I graduated from Texas State University with my Bachelor's of Science degree in criminal justice. Currently, I am employed at the Hays County District Attorney's Office, where I serve as a supervisor for the misdemeanor division. Education has always been an important topic in my family. With that being said, I'm a firm believer that every student has the potential, and making sure that we develop and enhance that potential will lead to a student success. Now, with that being said, that also goes hand in hand with the change in the way that learning has been going while COVID has been going on. So we just need to make sure that we're providing adequate education and making sure all the students have access to the tools they need to make sure they're learning successfully from home. With that also being said, we also need to make sure that we're being transparent with our taxpayer dollars, with the way the school district is providing their education to their students as well too. So again, I'm just wanting to make sure that we are providing the best education possible to our students through the CTE classes, making sure they're college, career, military ready, whatever area they decide to go into past high school. But yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you. Thank you. And finally, we have Sylvia Muzzy.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone. My name is Sylvia DeLeon Muzzy. I am a mother of 3 children as well. I think we have a theme going here. So I have a senior, a freshman, and a kindergartner. As for myself, I was raised in Martindale, came to San Marcos schools, graduated in 1996, and earned my bachelor's at Texas State University. As far as working, I helped my mother with Ellie's Greenhouse. That was a family business, and then went on to work in local government with Hays County in different offices. Worked at the San Marcos High School for a year, and while I was finishing up college, and currently work as a realtor in the greater San Marcos area. As far as volunteer work, I think it's important to lead by example. So showing our children what it is to give back. I currently serve as the SHIBE Mental Health Board Chair. I am a San Marcos Lions Club member. I am Vice President of Head to Toe. It's a community organization that gives back to children in need and giving back school supplies. And I did serve on DEIC committee for the school district, working on the school calendar and school goals. As far as running for school board, as an active mother, I was booster club president for the girls athletics at Goodnight. My children were in band and still are in band, so a booster mom in band. I really have great knowledge of the parents and how we feel, how things whenever changes come across. So I feel like being a voice of a parent, having worked in our school district, as well as being very well in tune with our citizens through the nonprofit organizations, I can be a voice for everyone and bring that to the school district for any concerns that come across needing to be tended to, as well as being able to say that I am a product of San Marcos and showing the kids again, it's good to give back and serve in your community however you can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're ready for the second portion of this event. For this portion, the candidates will all be given 2 minutes to discuss 2 San Marcos school-related topics. Beginning with Nicholas Castilla. Please discuss the most important issue or issues currently facing the San Marcos CISD.
I think obviously the most important issue that's facing the district right now is having the students going back to school in person. I know there are a lot of concerns that the community has raised as far as sending their students back to campus. But again, I think it's a give and take. You know, there are some students that are in our district that necessarily aren't succeeding while they're doing their virtual learning, just because they don't have the tools necessary to them, the structure. Some of them may not have the parental support that they have. Both parents may be working. So a lot of it's left up to the students to make sure that they're staying on track too. And some of those students may be falling behind. So I think with sending the students back to in-person, it's just something that we're gonna have to make sure that we are following CDC guidelines, making sure that students are being safe while they're there on campus, making sure that we are socially distancing as well too, and all around is making sure that our students are actively being safe while on campus and making sure that they're getting the education that they deserve here in the district.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Sylvia Muzzy.
Thank you. So here lately, main topic for me and what I've heard from parents is the communication with the reentry as for going back to school April 12th. While I understand the reasoning for it, I think the communication could have been better. As a parent of 3 children, I do appreciate the text emails that we do get, and then occasionally a letter in the mail for communication with our school district-wide and from our campus principals. But this time, I think we missed the mark. The communication could have been better. That way parents could have more prep time. We are getting that opportunity. Just a little while earlier, we were parents were sent an email with options to go back to school in person, or if we have circumstances to please put those out there. But I do think communication is a big topic of discussion and something we need to look at, especially at a time right now when we have so many important issues and families that are all different and have different concerns.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker would be Andy Fay.
All right, and I just want to clarify, did you say that you wanted us to discuss 2 topics or just one?
No, and please discuss the most important issue or issues currently facing San Marcos.
Okay, you know, it's already been discussed, but obviously going back to school is the biggest issue. I think that's on everybody's plate. I think we need to be thinking more logistically about it, as far as I think Sylvia actually touched on it, that the communication was more of a surprise to everybody. And if you weren't looking, you didn't see it. So I think a more stair-stepped approach, or how do I put this, a more systematic way to get back to school. So for instance, when our positivity rates equal a certain number, we do this. When you know, we have a certain number of cases in the school, we do this. As far as we did that for restricting things for COVID, we need to do it also for returning back to school. So for instance, eventually we're not going to wear masks at school anymore. I mean, that's where this is headed. So we need to have a plan in place before we get there, so that it's not a surprise to everybody. They don't just look on the paper and see that, hey, we're going back on the 12th. My kids have been back since the earliest available. We were kind of out there on the front line anyway. So if anybody was going to get it, it was going to be us. So we were kind of the test case, I like to say, for that. And I think we need to keep pushing forward with the return to school. We need to make sure that we are in compliance with CDC, but at the same time, we're not the only school district that's still wearing masks and things like that, so that we know what to expect and when to expect it, so that it's not, we're not waiting on a just drop the curtain and we're all back. So I think that would be the biggest issue we have right now, would be a systematic approach to returning to school back to normal. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker would be Mary Salmi.
Hi. I think the key point of bringing our kids back to school safely is definitely the most prescient thing on all of our minds. I take that a little differently to say that we need to close the gap in learning that's developed across the country and across the world. And there's studies on this in all aspects of education, that students are not learning as well as they have in the past everywhere. We also need to close the gap that's been created in social and emotional learning. Students are feeling a lot of anxiety, everyone is, and we have really important evidence of that going on in our community right now. And we have a responsibility to reach out to families and see what our schools can do to help. I've been trying to talk to principals in the district, and one of the elementary school principals told me that his staff have visited over 250 families, home visits during this time. And that's the kind of thing that our communities need to do. And our schools are a part of our community. They're a big part of our community, especially in San Marcos. San Marcos schools have always been key to the community here. And so knowing that our principals are reaching out to families and doing these home visits now, it's something that has gone away. It's a thing of the past, but I think it's really important to bring it back and use that as a tool to reach out to our families and understand what they need. And so closing that gap academically as well, and providing resources for students who need extra tutoring, and not putting those responsibilities solely on our teachers, but to provide innovative ways that we can close this academic gap, as well as the social and emotional learning gaps that have been created by this pandemic, are really the key issues that are facing our school district right now.
Great, thank you. Thank you. And lastly, we have Ann Halsey.
Thanks. So I know that SMCISD is committed to doing whatever it can to best serve the needs of all of our individual students and families. And I know the health and well-being of all kids is always our #1 priority. 1 year into the pandemic, I believe we must do everything we can to bridge our kids and our community to the other side of this public health crisis, economically, academically, medically, and emotionally. There's a lot of grief and a lot of suffering in our community right now. And as we continue to roll out vaccinations and emerge from this very, very, very long year, we must also address the compounding problems of the pandemic, including the mental health issues affecting our youth. We need to ensure that our families and our school staff have the support and the resources that they need to best provide for the well-being of all kids. I'm grateful to the many parents, teachers, community members, administrators, and organizations who have stepped up to lead those efforts to get our kids safely to the other side of this crisis. And I know that if we continue to work together, that we can do so safely.
Thank you. Our next question actually also has to do, you picked your most important issue was the COVID-19, the pandemic. And actually the next question also deals with that. So if you have extra time, if you want to address another issue on top of what this question is going to be, please feel free to do so, okay? So this question reads, the COVID-19 pandemic has complicated classroom teaching. Reports are that because of the added stress of COVID protocols in schools, thousands of classroom teachers nationwide have resigned or retired early. Discuss strategies the district should employ to ensure that San Marcos CISD teachers feel safe, valued, and supported. And we start with Ann Halsey.
So first, I just want to clarify that I understand that there have been exoduses from teaching throughout the country, but I'm grateful that in San Marcos, we have not seen that. We have not seen a mass exodus of staff retirements. And I really appreciate that. I think our teachers and our school staff have really been superheroes this year, and they've come through for our kids and our families and community in ways that are big and small, in ways that are seen and also unseen. Mm-hmm. Our child nutrition and transportation employees who made sure that children had healthy food to eat during the lockdown all summer and every day since. Our custodians who've worked long hours ensuring that our classrooms and campuses are safe spaces for learning. and our teachers and coaches who've been on the front lines from the first day, working with students and families in person, online, synchronously and asynchronously, even as they manage their own health and their own children and families. Our administrators turned on a dime to implement a virtual learning curriculum and roll out personal devices for all 8,000 of our kids. And our parent liaisons and school counselors have worked tirelessly under very strenuous circumstances to connect to kids and families in school, at home, in the parks, delivering food, delivering supplies, during lockdown, during the freeze, and during the holidays. As a trustee and as a parent, I've witnessed these measures firsthand, and I'm eternally grateful for their professionalism under duress and for their extraordinary and selfless acts of care and kindness in this crisis. And I'm proud that in addition to pay increases, the district was able to give every staff member 2 $500 incentives this year, one in the fall and one in the spring. I know how hard and how diligently our employees have worked to keep kids learning and to keep our schools safe this year. And that's why I'm in favor of a 3% raise for all salaried employees and a minimum raise of $2 per hour for all hourly employees for the coming school year.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Sylvia Muzzy.
Thank you. So as a parent of 2 teenagers and a kindergartner, we had 2 at home learning virtually and 1 in person. My little one she needs play. And so it was really important to get her back into school as soon as it was allowed. She is in the dual language program at Hernandez, and it's amazing. She loves it. We all love it. But the safety protocols that were set in place, were comfortable for my husband and I. Zoe, of course, just gave her name. Zoe doesn't know better. She acclimated and is doing just great. For my teenagers doing learning at home, my oldest is a senior, and so she has a little bit of senioritis, but keeping up with her and making sure she's doing what she needs to do has been very easy because of the engagement of her teachers. They've been amazing. We've had phone calls, Zoom, texts to make sure she meets all of the requirements that she's needing to meet. For my freshman, she has a little more anxiety. So this re-entering on the 12th, hearing that and it being so sudden really gave her, some high anxiety to where she came to me several times. And so thankfully we have a great support system at the San Marcos High School. And I have a tour scheduled for her tomorrow to go and walk the school and find her classes. And so that's something that I spoke about at the school board agenda meeting. I know we don't have a lot of time. The 12th is almost here, but if we can incorporate something like that to relieve some of the anxieties. I have received calls from other parents that have children that have never been on a middle school campus or the high school that are either going into middle school or freshmen. So there's my time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Mary Salmi.
Hi, thanks. Again, when I was thinking about this question that you sent out to us, I reached out to some of my teacher friends and I asked them what their schools could do, both in San Marcos and in other parts of the state, what schools could do to make them feel supported and to make them feel safe in the classroom. One of the things I heard was to have administration ensure that safety protocols are being followed. And I think that's something that's happening at some of our schools, but that is a way that we can ensure that our teachers are feeling safe and supported. Another thing that I know our school district has already done was to provide a centralized place for our teachers and staff to get vaccinated. And that was an amazing effort that the school district pulled off. And hopefully additional resources can be provided and found so that anyone who was unable to get vaccinated or has since changed their mind about their willingness to be vaccinated can have that opportunity as well. I think as with any kind of job, the best way to keep your good employees is to increase their compensation. And that's what happens in my company, right? The stellar employees get increases in compensation. And I think we have a responsibility to do that for our teachers and staff, especially now seeing the national polls. And I'm very glad that Ms. Halsey's shared with us that we really haven't had much turnover of teachers during this COVID period. But I want to ensure that we we don't have that later when other school districts are ready to, hire away more teachers. We don't want to lose our best teachers. And so we need to keep our pay competitive with the surrounding area and with the whole state. And so that's an important way to ensure that the teachers feel supported. I think that recognition and publicity of the accomplishments of our teachers is also extremely important. There are plenty of teachers who are continuing their own education while they're teaching full time. And that's the kind of thing that we need to let our families know. And we need to celebrate that publicly and often to say, these are the things that your teachers are doing to provide better education for your kids. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Nicholas Castilla.
Thank you. Again, the teachers have been superstars throughout this whole thing. A lot of my friends are teachers here within the district, and I know they were very grateful when they did receive the $500 bonus in the fall and in the spring. So I'm very grateful to the school board for showing their hard work and dedication and providing them with that bonus. With that being said, again, I think it's just making sure that our guidelines that are set by the school district are being followed to make sure that the teachers do feel safe and that there is space and they have the ability to talk to the administrative staff and raise any concerns, and that those concerns will be listened and taken into consideration to make sure that they feel safe, because without our teachers there, our students are not going to learn, and again, I think just communicating within the district-wide with the parents, the teachers, the staff, communication is key. Being transparent is going to be really, really important, making sure that, we are reporting our numbers and making sure that the staff is well aware of what's going on in the district as well too. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And finally, Andy Fay.
All right. So, I mean, it's hard to get up here and be and say exactly the same things to some extent. I mean, everybody's for teachers making more money. Studies have shown, though, that money doesn't always do it. Ms. Halsey, informed us that we didn't have a mass exodus, so that's great. That's wonderful. But studies always shown that generally someone having a good work environment is what keeps employees. Not to say that we shouldn't give them money. Obviously, give them money. There's a threshold you need to get to before money does not become, your primary motivation for going to work. And so, obviously, as much money as we can spare for the teachers, they're the boots on the ground. They're the ones that make the donuts. They need to be paid. But I think, and the teachers that I've spoken to, a lot of their complaints during the COVID virtual learning thing, and I was home with my 3 kids doing the virtual learning, and I'm a computer nerd, like I am a nerd, and it about killed me. I mean, it was disjointed, and I had and my 4-year-old in pre-K had a PowerPoint presentation that she was supposed to read in Spanish. And so obviously she can't read and I can't read in Spanish. So it was a bit of a challenge for us. So, and I don't mean to disparage the people that put that out, because they did it under duress. I mean, they were under the gun to get this program out. So the teachers that I've spoken to, especially with the virtual learning, said that they just don't have the support, the actual people helping them with these programs, because generally they aren't, computer nerds like me, and I couldn't figure it out. So I think moving forward, the computer is going to play a bigger part. I mean, we've kind of opened that box. And so virtual learning will be a part of the future. And I think that's the main concern at this point. COVID will go away eventually, be it through a vaccine or it just goes away. So we need to make sure that we have a technologically savvy support group for our teachers.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Well, this concludes tonight's program. I'd like to thank the candidates for participating this evening. The League of Women Voters and the voters of San Marcos appreciate your willingness to serve our community. Early voting begins Monday, April 19th. Election Day is Saturday, May 1st. For more information about the candidates and their positions, go to vote411.org, home of the League of Women Voters Electronic Voters Guide, to see and go to Hays County election website for voting locations. Thank you so much, and good night and good luck to you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.